It's time for the Woodsmith Shop. I'm Phil Huber. On today's episode, we're building some shop infrastructure. It's this cart. It's got plenty of storage for all the tools and gear that you're going to need, and it can serve many purposes. It's got a wide, large work surface that you can use as a workbench or as a companion to your workbench. We're going to use ours as an outfeed table, and it's all coming up next. Here in the Woodsmith Shop, we love our shop carts. And I think there's really no workshop that couldn't use a shop cart or two. I mean, there's 3 of them right behind me. So we're building one on today's episode, but this one takes a little bit different of a form. One of its primary characteristics is this large work surface. Now, another big feature of a cart should be plenty of storage and a lot of options. Now, the defining feature here are all these drawers along the front. In the plans, you'll see how we build them and even a really cool pull that we're using to give it a really finished, kind of manufactured look to it in all the right way. On the ends are recesses that you can add clamp racks or some small shelves like we have here. There's even storage on the back side here to be able to use. Building this cart starts with a plywood case. So we're going to show you how to create a strong and sturdy case from simple plywood panels. We're going to dress it up with some hardwood accents that also increase its strength. All in all, what you're going to find is that this is a rugged case and a cart that will serve you well no matter what you're using it for in the shop. So let's start building.
The life of a shop cart can be a pretty hard one. Oftentimes we're using them in our shop to load them down with a bunch of project parts, so we want the case and the cart itself to be strong and durable. So for this shop cart, we're building it with a combination of stable plywood and hardwood. We want the joinery to be just as stable as the case is. So for our shop cart, we're starting with high quality plywood, and we're going to cut joints that are dado and groove joints. Now I've set up a dado blade here, and I've spent a few minutes making a couple of test cuts. And the key here is that I want the kerf that this blade leaves to exactly match the thickness of the plywood. Now there is some variation in thicknesses of plywood, so you want to make sure that you're testing it against the pieces you're actually using. So my first cut was a little loose. So I adjusted the setup here by removing a chipper and adding a couple shims. And I ended up with a kerf that's a really good fit. There's a little bit of room in there for glue, and it's going to make assembly go together really, really nicely. Now these first dados are going to be cut in both the top and bottom. And there's 3 of them total. There's one that's just a couple inches in from each end on both sides, and then there's one in the middle. So I'm going to start by cutting the dados in the ends, make one cut, flip the piece around, make the second cut, doing the same thing on both the top and the bottom, and then I'll reposition the fence to cut that middle dado. Okay, there we go. Now you can see how this divider fits in those dados. Now while I have that dado blade loaded up, we're going to go ahead and cut a couple bits of joinery on these actual dividers. I'm going to cut a groove in here that's going to create 2 different size cubbies, one on the front and one on the back. And then on these 2 dividers that I'm setting off to the side, we're going to cut a rabbet along the back edge. And that's just going to be for a back panel that's going to slip in here. All right, now that all the joinery is done, I'm going to go ahead and pre-sand all of these parts just because I'm trying this new thing where I sand stuff before I put it together. It just makes it easier to do, especially on big panels like this. So we're at the point where we can do the preliminary assembly on this case. So first thing we have is we have these 2 dividers that slip into those dados, like so. Now I want to be a little bit thoughtful about my approach here because I am applying glue, and if I put these 2 dividers in place and then try to slip that smaller divider down, it's going to be a lot of beating on it with a mallet to get it to go in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of work in stages. I'm going to start with this divider by applying glue into that dado. Then I'll put some clamps across it and drive a few screws from the bottom. Then I'll go to this middle divider and slip that smaller divider in place before tilting that final panel into place. And then everything gets topped with the top piece, and screws will hold it together while the glue dries.